Lord Aaron returned triumphant from his northern campaign. After managing his estate for 5 years, I finally saw him return, ennobled as a marquis. At his victory banquet, he held my hand and promised before everyone, "In this life, I will never fail you." But that same night, his supposedly frail adoptive sister snuck into his study, her robes half undone, and wrapped herself around him. "Brother Aaron, I've waited 5 years for you. It has been so hard. Sister-in-law has everything, a title, a noble rank, but I only have you. I know this is wrong, but I can't control myself. Just for tonight, please. Love me just once." Aaron held her tightly, his voice hoarse. "Lila, you are the one I have wronged the most. If not for her powerful family, you would have been the one I married. You have suffered all these years." They clung to each other desperately, their whispers of love filling the air. I stroked the imperial plaque gifted to me, the one that read, "Virtuous Wife," and a laugh escaped my lips, born of pure rage. So, my 5 years of devotion were merely to guard their home, to make it convenient for their secret trysts. I slowly raised the torch in my hand. Since they loved their secret liaison so much, I would give them a grand fireworks display. "Simone, help! There is a fire! Simone, help! There is a fire!" A shrill cry pierced the night sky above the Marquise's estate. I watched the two figures entwined in the study, the smile on my lips growing colder. The next moment the door was smashed open. Countless servants and maids rushed in with buckets of water and clubs. They extinguished the flames, and got a clear view of the scene within. An instant hush fell. The things in their hands clattered to the floor. Lord Aaron, the newly appointed Marquis of Dingbay, my husband who had just returned victorious after 5 years of war, was shirtless, protectively holding his frail, helpless adoptive sister, Lila, her robes half off, her shoulders bare and white, her face still flushed from passion. "Sister-in-law. It is not what you think," Lila began timidly, tears rolling down her face like broken pearls. "It was me. I've admired Brother Aaron for so long, I couldn't control my feelings. Sister-in-law, please don't blame him." Her words made it sound as if I were the unreasonable, jealous wife. Aaron's face went from pale to ashen. He draped his outer robe over Lila, then turned to glare at me. "Serafina, have you caused enough trouble? Lila is delicate. You know this, yet you dare to humiliate her so publicly?" I clutched my chest, laughing until I couldn't breathe. "Humiliate her? My lord, how would I dare humiliate the one you hold so dear? I was just afraid that in the heat of your passion, you might burn down my grand estate. After all, I've managed this household for you for 5 years. I've grown attached to every blade of grass, every tree." Aaron's mother, my mother-in-law, the Dowager Marchioness, arrived late, supported by her maids. She glanced at the scene, her cane striking the floor heavily. Absurd! But her sharp gaze was not directed at the adulterous pair but straight at me. "Serafina, as the lady of this house, how can you be so intolerant? Aaron has been away for 5 years. It is understandable that he might lose control for a moment. Lila is practically your sister. How could you make such a scene over a small matter, bringing shame upon our entire household?" I composed myself, my smile vanishing. "You are right, mother. I have overreacted." I turned to Aaron, my tone as mild as if I were discussing dinner plans. "In that case, let us make the best of this mistake. Tomorrow, I will personally arrange for Lila to be brought into the family as a concubine, fulfilling both of your wishes." Both Aaron and the Dowager Marchioness were stunned. Hiding in Aaron's arms, Lila revealed a triumphant smile. I paused, then continued. "However, there are procedures for taking a concubine into this estate. Lila has no parents, and her status is somewhat lacking. To bring her in with the rights of a proper concubine might be a disservice to her. How about this? She will be brought in through a side door with no banquet and no guests. She will serve a cup of tea, and the formalities will be complete. From then on, she can live in the most remote western courtyard. She will pay her respects to me every morning and evening, which is only fitting for the 5 years I have acted as her sister-in-law. Husband, mother, what do you think? Aaron's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Serafina, don't you go too far? I'm going too far. I let out a soft laugh, my gaze sweeping over Lila, who was still sheltered in his arms. Husband, you were away for 5 years. I managed the estate, cared for your mother, and raised the children of our clan in the capital, earning an imperial plaque for being a virtuous wife. And what of Lila? For 5 years, she has lived in my house, spent my money, worn the fine silks I bought for her, only to climb into my husband's bed. Now, I am merely following the rules, giving her the dignity a concubine deserves. How is that going too far? My voice was not loud, but every word was clear and resonant. The Dowager Marchioness's face flushed. She cleared her throat. Serafina has a point, but Lila is, after all, dear to Aaron's heart, and she is his nominal sister. The western courtyard is a bit too shabby. Why don't we let her live in the moonlight pavilion next to Aaron's chambers so he can look after her? The moonlight pavilion was second only to my own main courtyard. I sneered inwardly, but my face remained gonshrin. You are right, mother, but the moonlight pavilion has good feng shui. I had intended for it to be for our firstborn son once my husband returned. Since Lila likes it, she can have it. But there is a distinction between the legitimate and the illegitimate. I worry that when my child is born, he might not know which courtyard is his and might accidentally disturb Lila. My words left the Dowager Marchioness speechless. Her legitimate grandson was the most important thing to her. Seeing this, Aaron interrupted impatiently. Enough, we will discuss this later. He took Lila's hand and comforted her softly. Lila, go and rest. Don't be afraid. I'll handle everything. Lila shot me a teary-eyed glance, filled with undisguised provocation and triumph. After the crowd dispersed, Aaron turned to me. The warmth in his eyes was gone, replaced by a cold disgust. Serafina, I thought you were a sensible woman. Lila has waited 5 years for me. She has suffered so much. What is wrong with me compensating her a little? Did you have to make such an ugly scene? I looked at him quietly. Aaron, search your conscience and ask yourself, what has she suffered in these 5 years? Did I deprive her of food or clothing? As her sister-in-law, have I not done enough? He was left speechless, then grew angry. Fine, you've done very well. Then continue to be a good sister-in-law, a good mistress of the house, and suppress this matter. Don't make things difficult for me. With that, he stormed off, heading directly to Lila's courtyard. I stood there, my blood feeling as if it had turned to ice. The next day, I did not go to pay my respects to the Dowager Marchioness. Instead, I went straight to the accounting office. When I married into the estate, my dowry was immense, the list of items thick enough to kill a man. For 5 years, I had managed the household's finances, including Aaron's military salary, the court's rewards, and the income from my dowry's properties. Steward Wang, seeing me, quickly rose and bowed. My lady, I nodded and said directly, cut off all of Miss Lila's expenses. From today on, her monthly allowance will be the same as a third-class maid's. Also, have all the valuable furnishings in her courtyard moved to the storeroom. She is not worthy of them. Steward Wang looked troubled. My lady, the Marquis, I looked at him coldly. The Marquis, who runs this household now, me or him? Just do as I say. If there are any problems, I will take responsibility. The steward shivered and quickly bowed in agreement. A couple of days later, several of Aaron's trusted generals came to visit. This was his first important meeting since his glorious return, aimed at consolidating his power within the army. The Dowager Marchioness specifically called me over, instructing me repeatedly. Serafina, Aaron's most trusted men are coming today. You must act with the dignity of a mistress. No more petty tantrums that will make us a laughingstock. I nodded obediently. Rest assured, mother. I understand. At the banquet, Aaron was in high spirits, drinking with his comrades and talking about the border wars. I sat beside him, smiling and listening, occasionally pouring them wine and serving food. the very picture of a virtuous wife. After a few rounds of drinks, a general surnamed Zhang raised his cup to me. I've long heard that the Marquis has a virtuous wife. Not only is she from a noble family, but she also manages the estate so well that we on the border can rest easy for the Marquis. This cup is for you, my lady. I stood to return the toast, my smile gentle. You flatter me, General Zhang. As a wife of the House of Aaron, these are my duties. I only hope that my husband can achieve great things. As for myself, I am but a small light behind him, not worth mentioning. My words both praised Aaron and showed my humility. Everyone present nodded in approval. A look of satisfaction appeared on Aaron's face as well. Just then, Lila walked in gracefully, carrying a tureen of soup. Brother Aaron, Mother said you've had too much to drink and asked me to bring you some sobering soup. She called him softly, her eyes clinging to him like hooks. The atmosphere instantly became a little awkward. General Zhang was taken aback and looked at Aaron. Aaron's expression remained unchanged as he introduced her. This is my adoptive sister, Lila. Oh, so it is the General's adoptive sister. The General seemed to understand, then smiled again. Miss Lila is very skilled and cares for the Marquis deeply. Lila lowered her head shyly, looking even more pitiful. I put down my wine cup and spoke softly. Lila, you've come at the right time. The General's wine cups are almost empty. Since you're here, don't just stand there. Stay and help me refill their cups. My voice was not loud, but everyone heard it. To ask a young lady to do a servant's work was undoubtedly an insult. Lila's face flushed red. She looked at Aaron for help. Aaron's fists clenched under the table, but in front of everyone, he couldn't lose his temper. He could only glare at me coldly. I pretended not to see, still smiling. What? Is Lila unwilling? That is right. You are delicate. Such coarse work is probably beyond you. It was thoughtless of me. I turned to a maid beside me. Go, bring a stool for Miss Lila and have her sit by the door. It is drafty there. We wouldn't want the smell of wine to give her a headache again. PFF'd. Someone at the table couldn't hold back a laugh. Lila's eyes welled up with tears. She looked as if she was about to cry on the spot. Aaron finally lost his patience and slammed his hand on the table. Enough. He stood up and took Lila's hand. She is unwell. I will take her back to rest. With that, he ignored all the guests and left with Lila. A carefully planned banquet ended in discord. Not long after, Aaron stormed into my room. Serafina, what the hell are you trying to do? He grabbed my wrist. His grip so tight it felt as if he would crush my bones. Humiliating me in front of my comrades, is that fun for you? I shook his hand off and looked at him coldly. Who humiliated you? Me or that shameless sister of yours? Aaron, don't you forget who gave you what you have today? It was my family, the House of Astley. He looked as if I had struck a nerve. His face twisted in a snarl. The House of Astley. He burst out laughing, his laughter filled with scorn and disdain. Do you think I'm still the same poor boy from 5 years ago, who had to rely on your family's charity? I am the Marquis of Dingbei now, with 200,000 soldiers under my command. Everyone has to show me respect. Serafina, you and your father, didn't you just see my potential back then and bet on me? In the end, our marriage is just a transaction. You gave me power and I gave you wealth and glory. Now that I've done my part, what more are you dissatisfied with? I was trembling with rage. A transaction. My 5 years of youth. 5 years of hard work. 5 years of fear and worry. In your eyes, it was all just a transaction. He took a step closer, his tall figure completely overshadowing me. What else? Don't think I don't know. Your father married you to me just to make my army the watchdog for your family. Now that I'm powerful and you can't control me anymore, that is why you're so desperate to get a hold on me, isn't it? He pushed me onto the bed and loomed over me, his eyes burning with a mad possessiveness. Listen to me, Serafina. You will be my woman for the rest of your life. Your title, your glory. It was all given by me. Without me, you are nothing. You'd better be obedient and play the part of the Marchioness. Otherwise, Don't blame me for forgetting our past affections. His words were like poisoned daggers, piercing through the last of my warmth and illusions. I looked at his face, so familiar yet so strange, and suddenly, I laughed. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. So that was it. So that is how he saw me. He thought he was successful, that he had grown his wings, that he could escape everything. He was so naive. I stopped laughing, raised my hand to his face, my eyes cold. Aaron, I spoke, each word distinct. Do you have any idea how you became a marquis? Was it because of your so-called military achievements? He frowned, clearly not expecting this reaction. The curve of my lips widened, my voice laced with a cruel pity. Do you remember the Battle of Blackwater River 3 years ago? You were surrounded by the enemy, out of supplies, who sent the life-saving grain and reinforcements. Do you remember the surprise attack on Cloudtop Pass last year? That enemy deployment map that led to your great victory. Do you really think it just fell from the sky? And on your way back to the capital, that ambush that nearly wiped out your entire army? Who sent the warning that allowed you to escape? With each question, the color drained from Aaron's face. He stared at me, his lips trembling, unable to speak. I leaned in close to his ear and whispered, in a voice only we could hear, Aaron, your 200,000 soldiers' supplies, your glorious military record, your title as the Marquis of Dingbei. I gave them to you. Without my family, without me, Serafina, you would be nothing but a pile of bones on the northern battlefield. Aaron looked as if he had been struck by lightning. He was completely frozen. The shock, doubt, and fear in his eyes twisted into a distorted web. No, impossible, he muttered, as if trying to convince himself. You're lying, those were the strategist's plans, earned with the lives of my brothers. I smiled with contempt. I took a stack of letters from under my pillow and threw them in his face. These are the correspondences between me and my spies at the front lines over the years. They bear my family's unique seal. See for yourself. See clearly how you came by your title. The letters scattered, each one like a sharp slap across his face. His face went from pale to ashen, and finally to complete collapse. I looked down at him, my heart a placid lake. Aaron, I'm giving you 2 choices. First, we separate. From now on, we go our separate ways. Second, I paused, bent down and grabbed his chin, forcing him to. If you refuse, then I will make these letters, and everything my family has done for you these past 5 years, public. I slowly stood up, still smiling. I will let the world see what kind of man the great Marquis of Dingbei truly is. When that time comes, you will lose more than just your title and your wealth. You will also lose what you value most, your reputation and your dignity. A monstrous hatred flared in his eyes. Serafina, you are ruthless. Likewise. I let go of him and stood straight. I'll give you 3 days to think it over. 3 days from now, give me your answer. With that, I walked out of the room without a backward glance. Aaron did not give me an answer. He chose a third path, a desperate struggle. He locked himself in his study for 3 days and 3 nights, seeing no one. And Lila, she was like a different person. No longer crying, she began to run around the estate, trying to reclaim her authority. She took Aaron's token to the accounting office and demanded 1,000 taels of silver for new jewelry. Steward Wang, following my instructions, politely refused her. Miss Lila, it is not that I won't give it to you, but the estate has had large expenses lately. We're short on funds. If you need money, you must have the lady's permission first. Lila smashed a teacup in a rage. Insolence! I am the Marquise's woman. How dare you disobey me? I happened to walk in and heard her. I laughed. My dear Lila, you have a grand tone. You're not even a concubine yet, and you're already acting like the mistress. Even if you do marry the Marquis, I will still be the one in charge. If you want money, you can go out and earn it yourself. Don't think you'll get a single coin from me. Lila was trembling with anger, but she was helpless against me. She could only run to Aaron to complain. When Aaron appeared, his eyes were bloodshot. He looked drained, yet there was a strange fire burning within him. found me and slammed a separation agreement on the table. Serafina, you win. I agree to separate. I was a little surprised, but picked up the agreement. The terms were clear, just as I had requested. But at the end, he had added a clause. After the separation, the House of Astley shall not interfere in any way with the affairs of Aaron or his estate. I laughed. Aaron, are you afraid of me? He stared at me and said, word by word, I'm not afraid of you. I'm disgusted by you. I'm disgusted by your arrogant attitude, your way of measuring everything with money and power. I want you to watch. Without your family, I, Aaron, will still make a name for myself. I picked up a brush and, without hesitation, signed my name on the agreement. Very well, I'll be waiting. The separation happened faster than anyone could have imagined. With my family's influence, the imperial decree came down in just half a month. The day I moved out of the estate, the weather was clear. I took all of my dowry with me. The Dowager Marchioness wept and cursed me, calling me a jinx, an ungrateful wolf. Lila stood beside Aaron, watching me empty the estate, her eyes filled with suppressed joy and greed. And Aaron, he just stood there, watching me without moving. His expression was as complex as a pool of dark ink. I did not look back. Leaving the estate, even the air felt fresher. I thought that my story with Aaron was over. But I had underestimated his shamelessness and Lila's malice. I had just left when new rumors began to spread through the capital. They said that I, Serafina, was excessively jealous, had abused my husband's beloved, and had forced him to separate. Some even said that I had been barren for 5 years, a hen that couldn't lay eggs, and should have been divorced long ago. These vicious words painted me as a jealous shrew and an abandoned wife. My family's businesses also began to have problems. One day, we were investigated for tax evasion. The next, accused of selling counterfeit goods. The day after, ruffians would come to smash our shops. I knew this was Aaron's revenge. He wanted to force me to bow my head. He thought that without him, a mere woman, I could not manage such a large enterprise. He thought he could easily trample me underfoot. He truly did not know me. Since I was a child, I was the one who bullied others, not the other way around. On my command, all of my family's businesses closed down. Aaron thought I had surrendered. He began to prepare for his wedding with Lila in grand style. He wanted a wedding even more magnificent than mine had been. He wanted everyone to know that even without my family, he was still successful. He even sent me an invitation. On it, in flamboyant script, were the words, "The pleasure of Miss Serafina's company is requested at the ceremony." The insult was palpable. I looked at the invitation and laughed. Aaron, you really won't give up until you're at a dead end. Since you want to put on such a good show, how can I not send you a grand gift? Aaron and Lila's wedding was indeed magnificent. All the nobles in the capital received an invitation. The display was impressive. Lila wore a bright red wedding gown, a phoenix crown on her head, her face beaming with triumph. She was finally going to be the legitimate Marchioness. During the ceremony, the master of ceremonies announced loudly, "First, bow to heaven and earth." Before he could finish, the main gate of the estate was kicked open. A group of ragged, lecherous men burst in, led by a brutish gambler. "Wait!" the man shouted, his eyes scanning the crowd before landing on Lila. "My good wife, you ran off without a word. So you found a better perch marrying a marquis? What, now that you're a Marchioness, you won't acknowledge your own husband?" The entire hall was in an uproar. Lila's face turned deathly pale. You're lying! I don't know you!" The man chuckled and pulled a crumpled marriage certificate from his robes. "You don't know me, but you must know this marriage certificate, right? Lila of Lin Village married to me, Pakfis's Wong. It even has your thumbprint. Not only are you my wife, but you also ran off with the 10 taels of silver I had saved for your mother's medicine. You unfilial, venomous woman." Aaron's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He glared at Lila, as if he wanted to eat her alive. "Lila, what is the meaning of this?" Terrified, Lila fell to her knees with a thud. "Brother Aaron, please. Let me explain. It was him. He saw that I was pretty and forced me to marry him. I never agreed. After my parents died, he beat and cursed me. I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran away. I didn't mean to lie to you, she cried, looking so pitiful. But Pakvis's Wang was not moved. You were the one who thought I was too poor and ran off with another man. And you said your parents were dead. They're still alive and well farming in the village. The ruffians he had brought with him also chimed in. That is right. This woman is a slut. She had a bad reputation in the village. Brother Wang, your wife has really made a name for you, becoming a marchioness in the capital. Aaron swayed, almost collapsing. The pure and innocent sister he had been so proud of, the beloved he had abandoned his wife for, was actually a married peasant woman. A liar. He had become the biggest joke in the entire capital. All of you, get out. Aaron finally exploded. He drew the sword at his waist and lunged like a mad tiger. The men, who had been hired by me, scattered at the sight of the weapon. The grand hall was left with only Aaron, Lila, and a scene of utter chaos. Lila, on her knees, crawled to Aaron's feet and clung to his leg. Brother Aaron, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I love you too much. I was afraid you would abandon me if you knew my background. That is why I lied. Look, I'm already carrying your child. For the sake of the child, please. Forgive me this one time. She looked up, her eyes misty, trying once again to win his sympathy with her weakness and tears. He looked down at this woman, his eyes filled with an icy coldness and disgust, but the thought of the child made a flicker of pity cross his face. Just then, from a dark corner, a timid voice spoke up. My lord, there is something I don't know if I should say. It was one of the ruffians, who had somehow snuck back in. Aaron glared at him with bloodshot eyes. The man flinched and quickly explained. Your wife and brother Wang never broke off contact. They met in secret just a few days ago. She said that once the child is born, she would pass it off as yours. And after inheriting the title, she would find a way to get rid of you. Before he could finish, Aaron had gone completely mad. Poisonous woman, he kicked Lila away, the sword in his hand plunging forward without hesitation. Ah! Lila screamed, blood gushing from her abdomen. She looked at Aaron in disbelief, a mixture of shock and terror in her eyes. Aaron, you dare. My child. Aaron laughed, a chilling, ghostly sound. Child. Who knows which bastard's child it is? You like men, don't you? Today, I'll let you taste what it means to wish you were dead. The madness in his eyes sent a chill down my spine. I stood outside the crowd, quietly watching the farce unfold. Aaron did not kill Lila. He had her, barely alive after her miscarriage, dragged to the western courtyard. The very courtyard I had prepared for her. He broke her hands and feet, cut out her tongue, and turned her into a living creature that could neither live nor die. She was given only a bowl of slop each day to keep her alive. The once beautiful Lila became a mad, crippled wretch, rolling in her own filth. And Aaron soon faced his own troubles. A great drought in the north had led to a complete crop failure. Tens of thousands of refugees were pouring into the capital. In an instant, the price of grain in the capital skyrocketed, and panic spread. At court, the officials were helpless. The grain in the national treasury was not nearly enough to deal with such a large-scale disaster. The emperor was at his wit's end and gave the problem to Aaron. But Aaron was just a military man. He had few connections with the loyal officials at court, and even fewer with the merchant class. With no other options, he came to me. He stood at the gate of my family's estate for 5 whole hours, but I did not appear. In the end, it was the emperor who summoned me to the palace. In the imperial garden, the emperor asked me why I would not extend a helping hand to save the countless refugees. I replied, neither humble nor arrogant. 10 days ago, Lord Aaron accused my family's businesses of selling counterfeit goods and evading taxes. My family is currently closed for restructuring. Though we wish to help now, we are more afraid of doing more harm than good and hurting the people. The emperor looked at Aaron. Lord Aaron, is this true? After the incident with Lila, Aaron had become a laughingstock in the capital. He was dejected with none of his former arrogance. He glanced at me and nodded weakly. The emperor immediately ordered an inspection of my businesses. The results, of course, were clean. The emperor summoned both Aaron and me to the palace again. Serafina, the Ministry of Justice has cleared this up. It was a misunderstanding. When can you reopen your businesses and resolve this urgent crisis? I curtsied. Your Majesty, if Lord Aaron can publicly clarify this matter and apologize to my family, I can reopen my businesses at any time. Aaron's eyes turned red. He gritted his teeth. In your dreams, Serafina. I looked at the emperor helplessly. The emperor made his decision on the spot. Lord Aaron, you were in the wrong first. Do as the House of Astley says until they are satisfied. In the end, Aaron bowed his head. On the busiest street in the capital, in front of all the people, he personally admitted to framing my family and bowed 3 times to me in apology. That day, he lost all the dignity of a marquis, and I stood on the balcony of a tea house, opposite, coldly watching his humiliation. After the famine was resolved, the emperor was overjoyed. He not only rewarded me with 10,000 taels of gold but also infamed me as Lady of Amping, with an estate of 300 households. In an instant, I, Serafina, was the talk of the town. The matchmakers who came to my door nearly wore out the threshold. Among them, the most prominent was the 7th prince, Prince Alaric. Prince Alaric was the empress's son, skilled in both literature and martial arts, with an exceptional bearing. He was a popular candidate for the position of crown prince. At a flower-viewing banquet, he personally picked the most beautiful peony for me. Miss Serafina is more beautiful than the flowers. May I have the honor of sharing a drink with you? The admiration and respect in his eyes were something I had never received from Aaron. I smiled and accepted the flower, but then I heard a sarcastic voice from behind. So this is why you wanted to separate from me. You've found a higher branch to climb. Aaron had appeared drunk. His eyes were fixed on me, filled with undisguised jealousy and venom. Prince Alaric frowned and stepped in front of me. Marquise, please watch your words. Miss Serafina is a free woman now, and has nothing to do with you. Aaron laughed and pointed at me. Nothing to do with me? She is a woman I've used. Is there a single part of her I haven't touched? Your Highness, do you have a penchant for picking up used goods? His words were vulgar and unbearable. The noble ladies around us began to point and whisper. My expression remained unchanged. I simply raised my hand and slapped Aaron hard across the face. Slap. The crisp sound silenced the entire gathering. Aaron was stunned, holding his face in disbelief. You dare to hit me? I looked at him coldly, my words like ice. Aaron, this slap. Do you think I'm still the same Serafina who would swallow her anger for you? You're wrong. In my eyes now, you are not even as good as a dog. I turned to Prince Alaric and smiled. Thank you for your help, Your Highness, but this mad dog's barking has spoiled the mood. I will take my leave. With that, I turned and left, not sparing Aaron another glance. I knew he wouldn't let it go. Sure enough, a few days later, Prince Alaric and I were attacked outside the city. He took an arrow for me and was seriously injured. All the evidence pointed to Aaron's old subordinates from the army. The emperor was furious and ordered a thorough investigation. It was then discovered that Aaron, unable to accept that the woman who had once belonged to him was now involved with another man, had impulsively tried to have me killed. Aaron was stripped of his military power and confined to his estate, awaiting judgment. The Dowager Marchioness went mad with grief. She dragged her ailing body to my estate and knelt at the gate, begging me to save Aaron. Serafina, for the sake of your past marriage, please. Save Aaron. He was just confused for a moment. I had a servant bring me a cup of tea and sipped it slowly. My lady, one can eat whatever one likes, but one cannot speak so carelessly. The Marquis and I have long been separated. What marital affection is there to speak of? Besides, plotting to harm a prince is a crime that implicates the entire clan. My family is small. We cannot bear such a charge. The Dowager Marchioness wailed, kowtowing repeatedly, her forehead bleeding. "I will be your servant for the rest of my life. Please have mercy." I put down my teacup, walked over to her, and looked down at her. "When you condoned his affair with Lila and called me a jealous shrew, did you ever think this day would come? It is too late to beg me now." I turned and went back inside, instructing the gatekeeper, "Show her out." Later, I went to visit Prince Alaric. He was lying in bed, pale, but he still smiled at me. "You were frightened." I shook my head and tucked him in. He took my hand, his gaze intense. "Serafina, give me a chance, and give yourself a chance too, okay?" I pulled my hand away, my face a little flushed. "We'll talk after you've recovered." Prince Alaric's recovery took a month. During that month, Aaron's case was also resolved. He was found guilty of hiring assassins, the evidence irrefutable. He was sentenced to exile, 3,000 miles away, never to return to the capital. The Marquise's estate was confiscated, its assets seized by the state. The house of Aaron had fallen completely, the day Aaron was escorted out of the capital. It was pouring rain. The prisoner's cart passed through the main street, which was lined with spectators. Countless rotten vegetables and eggs rained down on him. He was in a prisoner's uniform, his hair disheveled, his figure gaunt. There was no trace of the once proud Marquis. The Dowager Marchioness followed behind the cart, stumbling and crying her heart out. "Aaron, my son!" The cart paused for a moment, below my tea house. Aaron looked up, and through the heavy rain saw me standing by the window. "Serafina, I will not let you go, even as a ghost." I raised my teacup, toasted him from afar, and then poured the tea onto the ground. Dust to dust, earth to earth. Between us, it was over. After Prince Alaric recovered, the first thing he did was go to the palace and ask the emperor for my hand in marriage. The emperor was overjoyed and immediately decreed it. The wedding was grand and magnificent. I wore a wedding gown again, this time for myself. On our wedding night, Prince Alaric lifted my veil, his eyes filled with a deep tenderness. "Serafina, I have finally married you." He took my hand and placed a devout kiss on the back of it. "From now on, I am here. No one will ever let you suffer the slightest grievance again." I leaned against him, feeling the warmth of his chest, my heart at peace. After our marriage, Prince Alaric doted on me. He supported me in managing my family's businesses, and even entrusted his own properties to me. We looked at account books together, tasted new teas together, and walked under the moon together. Life was simple and warm. I would occasionally think of Aaron. I would remember the young general from 5 years ago, who had held my hand and promised to never fail me. I would also remember the disgraced Marquis, who had sworn to haunt me even as a ghost. But whether it was love or hate, it had all been washed away by time. One day, while walking in the imperial garden, I saw an old palace maid dozing in a corner. A servant beside me whispered, "Your Highness, that is the former Dowager Marchioness of the House of Aaron. After the estate fell, she somehow ended up in the palace, doing menial work in the laundry." I did not pause, just gave a soft, when she had knelt before me begging. Did she ever think that she too would one day kneel and beg others? I climbed to the highest pavilion of the Phoenix Palace, looking out over the entire Forbidden City and the vast land beyond. Beside me was a loving husband, at my feet were lovely children, and behind me was a powerful family. I had finally become the person I wanted to be. As for those who had tried to drag me into the abyss, they had long since turned to dust, not worth a single thought. My life had just begun. Aaron, if there is a next life, let us never meet again.